So next, we are starting from administrative cost. What is that? Administrative cost is the cost of formulating the policy, directing and controlling the business activities which is not related directly to a production, selling and distribution, research or development activities or function. So administrative cost is basically the cost that is dedicated for policy making or policy formulating, and to uh, keep the record of employees, employee demand, employee remuneration, employee, several other factors are also there. So administration is a very important part of any organization. So if we move, so next is so this is the administrative cost. Now the next is cost, that is favorable and normal expenditure and expired cost. So one is manufacturing cost, another one is research and development cost, third one is administrative cost, and fourth one is selling and distribution cost, that already that is mentioned. So manufacturing cost can be classified in further three categories, that is direct material, direct labor, and factory overhead. That is factory overhead is nothing but the indirect material, indirect labor, factory and machinery depreciation, because depreciation is there and the maintenance is there. Some maintenance cost is also involved for the for proper maintaining of the machinery, and indirect labor means to carry some material from distant place. Some one uh, person may be uh, employed temporary basis. That is the indirect labor. And second one is research and development cost. Research and development cost include material, labor, and other expenses related with research function. Administrative cost is basically material, labor, and other expenses related with administrative function. So the wages or salary of the employee, administrative employee, and also the salary of labor, I mean the salary of fourth grade staff, and also other expenses. That means the paper contingency. What is meant by contingency? That is meant by other expenses related to administrative function. Same is applicable for research and development cost also. Next is selling and distribution cost, material, labor, and other expenses related with selling function. So the material that is required for packing, the packing box is required for selling of the material to carry it to the distant place. That is the selling material. Then also that material is meant that is this material is actually the packing cost. Then labor, that is to carry the finished product to different shops or destination or different company, that is labor is required to carry the product, that is labor cost, and other expenses also, that is they have to purchase some accessories, uh, printers, etc. Next is the economic events of that ABC company made in December 2015. This is one of the example or case study. That is ABC is any company, X company. So 1st December, the event was woods priced at 1 TL has been used in manufacturing furniture. Then 5th December, the wages uh, of manufacturing employee is paid. So that is the event that need to be noted. The events, the cost that needs to be noted. Next is already mentioned what is the classification of cost according to this classification table. We are explaining this. So according to identifiable is nothing but the relation between product and cost center. So identify this according to identifiable cost can be classified as direct cost and indirect cost. So what is direct cost? Direct cost is the expenses that can be completely attributed to the production or cost center. And in the process of production of articles, material cost, labor cost, and other expenses incurred directly related with manufacturing activity. So direct materials, direct labor, direct expenses, all are related to direct cost. And direct cost, there are some more examples. For example, in producing furniture, the cost of wood and the cost of labor is directly related with the manufacturing activity and will be defined as direct cost. And there are much more examples, that is in the cutting and molding department, assembly department, polishing department. There are different departments in an unit. So for example, manufacturing of furniture, the cost of wood is directly traceable to cutting and molding cost center, and the cost of wood is directly attributable to cost of production activity. So this is a case study, this is an example. So what is indirect cost? Indirect cost, other costs such as depreciation or administrative expenses are more difficult to assign to a specific product and therefore are considered as depreciation cost. Represents the machinery that is going that is the company using for a period of 10 years, 15 years, the life of machinery is diminishing. That is actually depreciation cost. So these all are in the category of indirect cost, and the expenses incurred on those items which are not directly chargeable to production or cost center are indirect cost. Example is uh, actually that say someone, the laborers are taking tea, biscuit during their working hours. These expenses that are not directly chargeable to production, um, that can be treated as indirect cost, but this is mandatory cost. An example is in production, salaries of timekeepers, storekeepers are indirect cost. So the cost that cannot be conveniently allocated to production unit are called indirect cost. I repeat, the cost that cannot be conveniently allocated to production are called indirect cost. So we can further produce a chart, that classification chart, that can be classified, cost can be classified in this way also. material, labor, expenses. Material cost can be classified as direct and indirect cost. Labor cost can also be classified as direct and indirect cost. Expenses can also be classified as direct and indirect expenses. So all these direct and indirect are common. Now the expenses indirect cost can be further classified as factory of works overhead and administrative overhead, selling and distribution overhead. Now, according to behavior, cost can be one cost can be classified as fixed cost and variable cost. So what is fixed cost? What is variable cost? We should know. This is according to behavior. The total classification chart has been given at the in the beginning of the slide. So now, according to behavior, in this classification, costs are classified by their behavior to changes in the level of activity. So, this is fixed cost. Fixed cost is a constant line, constant cost. That's why this is a straight line. And fixed cost cannot be varied. And in this classification, costs are classified by their behavior to changes in the level of activity. This is the analysis of how cost or profits change as volume changes. Now, variable cost is the red line showing the variable cost. Variable cost is increasing in nature, passing through origin. If sales increases, variable cost increases, whereas if sales increases, fixed cost decreases. Actually, fixed cost means the salaries of permanent employee, the purchased the machinery that is purchased in the factory that is used for roughly 15 to 20 years, that cannot be they don't need a change in fixed cost because this is permanent. Actually, the cost that has been made, that is permanent and that can run for a minimum period of 20 years. That's why this is fixed cost. Variable cost is under different category. Variable cost can be defined. So variable cost is increasing in nature. Sales increases when variable cost increases. Say if your production unit in producing 100 material, for 100 material transfer, say one van is required. But if the production unit producing say 20,000 material, then for transfer of this material or equipment finished product, so one van would not suffice. There are several vans are required. So that's why when sales increases, then variable cost gradually increases. This is the analysis of how cost or profit change as volume changes. In this context, volume might be an activity such as the number of machine hours, the number of units produced, and the number of pounds processed. The number of units sold, that all are treated as activity. Now, this is the example of fixed cost, the cost which does not vary but remains constant within a given period of time and of range of activity. And example is rent, insurance of factory buildings, depreciation, etc. remains same for different levels of production. And variable cost we can explain in this way. The cost tend to vary with the volume of output called variable cost. Any increase in the volume of production results in an increase in the variable cost. Example is cost of material, cost of labor, etc. So classification, this is the summary classification of cost according to nature and function. First one is nature, then function. Second category is according to the identifiable, that consists of direct cost and indirect cost. Third category is according to volume, that consists of fixed costs and variable cost. So function and nature, this is an example. Production cost, direct material, direct labor, factory overheads, this is prime cost and indirect cost. And general administrative cost is material, labor, other expenses, they reported in income statement. And selling and distribution cost, material, labor, and other are reported in income statement also. So production cost is the next category. Production cost, the cost of inventory will be reported in balance sheet. The categories of inventory are as follows: raw material, work in progress, finished goods. The cost of product will be reported as work in progress process. The cost of finished goods will be reported as finished goods in balance sheet. So the cost of raw materials involves acquisition cost. The cost of consumed raw material will be a part of production cost and will be reported as work in progress or finished goods in balance sheet. The cost of raw material will be ascertained as, see, beginning inventory of raw material. Inventory means whatever we have from last year, it has been shifted to this year, present year. How much amount we are having in the account, that is our inventory. Net purchases, this falls under the category of cost of raw material. Ending inventory of raw material and total cost of the total cost of raw material is this. So this beginning inventory, that should be added, net purchase added, and ending inventory of raw materials, that should be minus, subtracted, and total cost of raw material is must be positive. So ending inventory of raw material is the raw material actually that purchased but production is not done. So that is actually the expense category. So that expense should be subtracted from the net purchase and beginning inventory of raw material. So production cost, work in progress is semi-finished goods at the time of finding of total cost production, cost of production. Work in progress consists of cost of direct material, cost of direct labor, and factory overheads. So production cost, the cost of finished goods consists of cost of beginning finished goods, cost of direct material, cost of direct labor, and factory overhead. So this is the finished goods, this is the sign symbol of finished goods. So here work in progress, that is the symbol is symbolically it is presented. So production cost, again, cost of goods sold consists of cost of beginning finished goods, total cost of current period, that is direct material, direct labor, and including direct material, direct labor, and factory overhead. So cost of direct material, this is the statement of cost or cost sheet. This is the statement of cost or cost sheet. Cost of beginning raw material, net purchases, factory overhead, current period's total cost, current period's cost of finished goods, cost of goods sold, general administrative expenses. All these are the statement of cost or cost sheet. These are the references. If there is any question, feel free to ask me to this email ID. Thank you.